Hi everyone, Katherine here with your Tuesday afternoon spiritual practice. Today I'd like to talk with you about one of the spiritual practices that's been very formational for me, which is interfaith engagement. When I was a seminary student, I was searching for courses to learn about engagement with young adults and youth and ministry with those communities, and I had the chance to take a course called Youth and Interfaith Action, which sounded very interesting to me. It was taught by Eboo Patel, who was an affiliated teacher at my seminary in Chicago and who founded an organization called Interfaith Youth Corps. This is an amazing organization, and Eboo's work comes out of his own personal story. Eboo grew up with two best friends, one of whom was Jewish and the other Christian, and he's Muslim. But as children, they never spoke about their faith at all. And as he grew up, he realized that that was kind of a missed opportunity. And so when he went on to college and graduate school and his work after that, his goal was to really help young people begin to discuss their faith with each other across lines of difference. And he found that when young people engaged in these kinds of dialogues, it actually helped to strengthen their own faith and help them feel more grounded and also think more critically about their spiritual lives. So at the center of what the Interfaith Youth Corps does is the idea of storytelling, that we carry with us stories about our faith and our experience with religion, and that when we share these stories with one another, we can find common threads, and we can find our own stories of interfaith engagement where we might not expect them. So in my work with Interfaith Youth Corps, which I was lucky to get to do some internship work with them, I came to find that I had my own interfaith story as someone who grew up in the UCC but had a brother who's Catholic, a mom who grew up Episcopalian, and a grandmother who's an atheist. So there was already some interfaith lines in my own spiritual journey. As I began to really dive into this interfaith work, the place where I started was books, reading amazing books like Eboo's book, Acts of Faith, and some other amazing works that helped me to see ways in which the world has always had places and moments where people of different faiths would come together and engage around important issues. And we see that today in our world. It's amazing to think about the ways in which we are stronger together. And at Old South, we know that to be true. We partner with faith communities all around the city as part of the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization to take up important social issues. And it's because we partner together with people who are different from us that we are stronger in our activism and in our work. We also have a partnership with Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light, which again is an organization that's able to do incredible things, in part because it's made up of people of faith who are deeply committed to the work of caring for creation across different lines of faith tradition. So now you may say, if this is a spiritual practice, how would you suggest that I go about practicing interfaith engagement, especially when I'm stuck at home? So you might consider learning a bit about another faith. Or you might consider picking up a book and reading a bit, and I find that when I read about another tradition, it helps me to look with an inquisitive eye at my own faith tradition. I remember hearing a story about a woman named Cassie who grew up evangelical Christian, and when she started to engage in interfaith dialogue with people of different traditions, and particularly the Muslim tradition, she was captivated by the Muslim practice of praying multiple times a day at certain hours. And it helped her to look into her own tradition and find the spiritual practice of praying the hours. So she developed a prayer life rooted in this idea of praying at certain times through the day and found strength in her own tradition. Another way that we can learn about faith traditions is to learn about different traditions' holidays. Today is the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is a day when we should stand together, and say that hatred and violence and genocide, like happened in the Holocaust, can never stand again. It's a day for us to remember that we are better together, across lines of faith, and even for those who have no faith, that we must stand together, celebrating the sacredness of life, of all life, and demanding that every person have the freedom to practice their faith as they feel called. It's a day when we remember the importance of interfaith engagement, of learning across lines of difference, of seeing each other as human beings. And it's a day to support one another in our mutual endeavor to bring peace and healing and hope to the world. I hope you'll consider taking up the spiritual practice of interfaith engagement, whatever that looks like to you. It'll be an opening of a door to new learning, new connection, and hopefully will bring some inspiration and some depth to your own spiritual practice.